Welcome to the show, everybody. Let's talk college football. I'm your host, Don Goodwin. We're going to do a rapid reaction. I know it's late for week 4. This is Thursday, and I normally do it on Monday, but I had a family emergency. I'll be flying into Ohio this weekend for that emergency, and I'll keep my eyes on these games and be able to break down and give you a rapid reaction. Monday, Bucks report. There's not a whole lot to talk about the Bucks report because head coach Ryan Day didn't really talk. We're still looking to see is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to be able to play come week 6 because they have a bye week here, week 5, which is probably the best case scenario for them. As well as film study. They need to do a lot of film study. There were some issues on rotating that defensive line that was probably causing a lot of those runs in that second half to get over 170-something yards. But we'll get in all that because I have a couple games I want to break down a little bit, but we're going to fly through some of these things, where I was right, where I was wrong, rapid reaction, quick statements, and stuff like that. So let's get into all this, right? So let's start off with Wisconsin, Purdue. This was a Friday night game. Purdue just is not looking very good, and they got to do something. They got to make some changes, man. We're going to be in Purdue for the Purdue-Ohio State game, October 14th. Pretty excited about that. I've never been to that stadium, so I'm pretty excited about that, and I get to see Ohio State, which is my team. So whether Purdue's good or not, I'm excited. But I never put Purdue on the back end. You never know when somebody's going to make a wish and then they beat Ohio State. I've seen it before. So we're going to go to that. Wisconsin continues to do something. I think their defense continues to shine. Their offense just needs to continue to build up. I mean, every week they're going to get better and better, and they got Ohio State going there later on in the season at night at Wisconsin. That's going to be a rough one for Ohio State. North Carolina State also beat Virginia 24-21. That was a pretty good game to watch. So let's get into Saturday's mix-ups. All right. Michigan is who Michigan is. I'm not going to have a lot to talk about that. They start off so they're in battles. They're battling in Rutgers, and then all of a sudden they pull completely away from Rutgers. So that's not much to say. Cincinnati continues to don't look like a Power 5 team in their first year of Power 5. Oklahoma beats them 20-6. Not much to say right there. FSU and Clemson. FSU was behind this. I'm trying to take a deep breath because I know I have some FSU fans, and I'm not trying to diss on them. I picked FSU to win. I think FSU will win the ACC. I think FSU will be fighting for a playoff spot, but they have to be better than this if they want to get in the playoff spot because these things might count. We have 5 divisions with opportunities for all 5 divisions, or all 5 conferences, all 5 conferences to fight for a 4-spot playoff spot this year. And I can go in the Pac-12 or the Big Ten, and I got 2 or 3 people who I can pick. Big 12, you got 2 people who can try to fight to get in still. And all that will work itself out in the Big 12. SEC, I don't know, man, maybe 1 right now. This is a really weird year with SEC. They're just down. They're down right now. And the ACC, you still got a couple as well. So we'll see how all that works out. This is pretty exciting when it comes to that. But FSU has struggled on the road 2 weeks in a row. They struggled against Boston College. They escaped that. They should have lost that game. They didn't, though. They won. And then they go to Clemson, where Clemson's pretty much – they're ahead of the game the whole time. I mean, FSU didn't even take lead until overtime, which was mostly because Clemson made a lot of mistakes in that into that fourth quarter, and especially into that overtime. There was a lot of mistakes, bad calls, I believe, from the coaching staff, and some poor execution as well. So Clemson is literally on the brink of being a pretty decent team, so I'm not going to say nothing. They went into Clemson in the Death Valley, and so that's pretty tough. So FSU gets a little credit for that. They come out there and pull the win. But it is an unranked team 2 weeks in a row that you almost lost to. And I know you're saying that's not horseshoe hand grenades. Well, that doesn't count in college football. The way you win counts in college football. It doesn't seem to count that much for the AP poll, but they did drop them 1 spot this time instead of – they dropped them 1 spot the last time. They should probably drop more than that. But I still think FSU's the best team in the ACC, but Miami's creeping up right there with them. You got Duke's offense is absolutely phenomenal. Duke plays a pretty tough game coming up in week 5, but we'll get that in another show. So that's one to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on FSU. They are now number 4 in the country. So we'll see. Or no, they're actually number 5 in the country now. They dropped Ohio State, went up to number 4 in the country. So, moving on. We don't need to worry about all that. Let's go to Auburn. Auburn continues to not have an offense. The freeze warning is not a warning. It might be a little chill or something in there, a little crisp, but there's no warning. There is no offense in Auburn. They're not a threat at all. Texas A&M takes care of them 27-10, but I have not seen Auburn have an offense all year, so I don't really look at them as a threat. So moving on that. Kentucky continues out their 4-0, 45-28 against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a really bad team. There's a good matchup coming up in week 5 with Florida and Kentucky. We'll get to that. That's going to be one of the games we picked this week. As you know, I picked Florida to go 6-1 into that bye week, so we'll see how that works out. So this is their tough game right here. All right, moving on. Let's go through some more of these real quick before we get into the 2 games I want to talk about. We're going to leave those for last. Maryland continues to go 4-0, 31-9. Michigan State is not having a good time. They finally fired Mel Tucker for the incidents that he was involved into, which we're not going to get involved in that because I don't know all the details to sit there and bash somebody and go through that. But obviously, if you were fired, there was enough evidence to say that you were guilty for what you did. Michigan State is just not going to be a good team this year. They have too much on them. I mean, it is. I feel bad for the kids in that program because of this. Alabama missed Ole Miss. Ole Miss could not get an offense going in this game at all. I mean, all the hype and everything about Lane Kiffin coming in to Alabama and beating Alabama, no. And I'm not going to sit here and say Alabama's offense was great because it wasn't. It was absolutely not. You throw a pick in the end zone, it just explains everything right there. They just didn't look good in the first half. What made it different is you've seen Alabama's defense be Alabama's defense, and that turned the game. That sparked the game. Alabama's defense needs to continue to show up if they want to continue to spark it, because I believe it's going to be won by the defense and not the offense, because I think the defense fuels the offense to do a better job. Run the ball, play strong defense, and good special teams, and Alabama's got some more wins down the road. They'll have a little bit of a hard competition. You know, they play Texas A&M. At Texas A&M this year, and they have to play LSU still. So I mean, those are going to be pretty tough games. LSU's up and down, but we'll see. Alabama still has a pretty tough schedule, but it's going to go through their defense for the win. I truly believe it because they don't have good quarterback play. They got good running play, so run the ball, take what the defense gives you on offense. Play good special teams, and then play Alabama defense. I'm not saying good defense. I say Alabama defense. If you're not playing lights out defense, this is going to be a problem for Alabama going down the road. All right. Let's a couple more, and then we're going to get into the 2 games I like to talk about, and then we're going to end this. This is going to be a pretty fast podcast, everything like that, because we have to get into week 5. LSU, Arkansas. What a game. 31-34. This was a game. Arkansas finally, I thought, looked pretty decent. And it's not that they're a bad team. I just don't think that Jefferson kind of hasn't looked like Jefferson this year. And I thought he did pretty good. 21-31, only 10 drops for 289 yards, 3 touchdowns. The problem was the 2 interceptions, and that was going to cause him. Now, Jalen Daniels did also throw 1 interception as well, but he threw 4 touchdowns, and he made it up with a 20-29, only missing 9 for 320 yards. Pretty darn good if you ask me, right? So, Hogs lose 31-34, but there is hope over there in Arkansas to get some wins in. They're 2-2, 500. They're going to have to start winning, or this season is going to tank real fast on them. Matter of fact, LSU, whose defense got to do better as well, their defense just wasn't very good. And you got some hard games for LSU coming up. If their defense plays like that, I don't think they win. But I don't know. Daniels is a pretty good quarterback, and he's done. And it's not that the defense can't do it. I mean, they have some picks and stuff, but I just don't see the motor. I don't see the same motor that I seen a few years back. This seems almost like the same as last year. Their defense wasn't good last year. They had some big wins and then some big losses. Their inconsistency what caused them the end of the season. So we'll keep our eye on that. Wyoming was my guaranteed pick, and they won. They won 22-19. What a game. Appalachia State and Wyoming did not disappoint, but I got it right, guys. I got my guaranteed right. Of course, I got the Gators right, but they played Charlotte, so I mean, who thought they were going to lose, right? So that was a good thing as well. Washington State and Oregon State, 35-38. Washington State beat them. Oregon State is this was an upset. Washington State was 21, Oregon State was 14. But I will tell you this. Don't sleep on Oregon State. I still think they're a complete team. I think DJ is really good in that system. I actually like this game a lot. Both these teams are really good, and we should keep an eye on those as well. So I got about one more, and then we're going to go ahead and jump because we got to get things going here. Let's talk. Oh, right here. This is the one I wanted to talk about. So at the beginning of the year, I did a podcast, and I asked the question, will Northwestern win one or less games or two or more games? And everyone picked one or less. We were all wrong because even I did. Northwestern won 37-34 after being down. Listen, this is absolutely crazy, right? I thought Northwestern was going to lose this game. And then they scored 21 points in the fourth and 6 points in OT compared to the 3 points that Minnesota scored. 21 points in the fourth, only having 10 points the whole other game, the rest of the other three quarters. 0 points actually in the first. And they come back and win. Now, this is a team that also went through some tragedies with the head coach and everything for Hastings and all that. And no one really believed they were going to win. And I don't think they're going to go out there and just win a bunch of games after this. But the heart is there, and this is important for a team to have heart still. And Northwestern has heart, and they showed that they have heart. They showed that it wasn't going to give up. They're playing for each other. They're playing for their new coach and the coaching staff. They're playing for their college, their program, and I think this is good. This is what you want. Now, in a down year, and this was going to be a down year for them, and other teams will have that too, like Michigan State and everything. You don't see that heart in Michigan State. You don't. It's almost like I feel like Michigan State gives up in the game. I just don't see the heart. But Northwestern, you see the heart. And I think that's huge for this program going forward. And so they should really pat themselves on the back for that, because that is a huge thing. And also I want to talk SC played Arizona State 42-28. But I think SC might have a little bit more troubles on their defense than people can look at if they just look at the score. I mean, I'm not impressed with that defense at all. I think there's some big issues. And I know people will say, what about Penn State? Listen, Penn State dominant. It was the most dominant game I've seen them play in a long time. They took out one of the best defenses, but a horrible offense that was missing some key players. I believe 3 key players, and they don't have many key players. And so kudos to them on that win. But there's not much to talk about there on that. Colorado, though, and Oregon is something to talk about. Before the Colorado-Oregon game, there was one coach, Dan Lanning, who was doing a pregame speech, which was absolutely phenomenal. If you wanted to get hyped up for a game, you know it was premeditated, right? Cameras in there and everything like that. And he's in there talking about it ends now, and they're playing for clicks, we're playing for wins. And it's not going to be played on the web, but it's going to be played on the grass, or however he said it. But it was exciting. I was pumped up, and I'm like, this is going to be a good game. Well, it wasn't. This game was over a quarter way through the first quarter, and people still watched it because they believed they were going to come back. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was not a good game. It wasn't. I believe we've seen the truth that I was talking about, that Colorado's a good team, but they're not a great team. Because of the trenches are small and the running back is small, they can't run the ball because their defense is weak at linebacker as well. And they had Hunter out. Now, Hunter's not going to win this game for them. They're not. They probably won't have the same score, because I think he would have made some key stops in this game for sure. And maybe he would even help them juice up the offense to be able to get something. But the amount of sacks that Shedeur Sanders took, the non-protection that he had, it was just a bad game. And really it was a moment of understanding where some of us who understand football are looking at this and saying they're playing against teams and barely getting by and allowing them to score just about as many points as they're scoring. Or they're playing teams that don't have a lot of superstars on it right now. And so everyone's buying the hype that Colorado's going to win a championship. And I'm thinking to myself, look how little their players are. Wait till they play a true Power 5 team that is built for success, a top team. And they've seen it. You've seen exactly what's going to happen. And they play USC this week, and it's not going to slow down. I think USC is going to take it to them as well. I still think Shedeur Sanders is one of the best quarterbacks, top 3 quarterbacks in college football. And I'm going to say that. I still think Hunter is the best athlete in college football. I think Shedeur Sanders makes his wide receivers look better than what even they are. Because we've seen them play on other teams like USF. You didn't see that. But the trenches, the linebackers, the running game, the protection is not going to hold up against these really big teams. It's not. It was 35-0 at halftime. And he says, we're not done. We're not finished. The trash talk from the coaches on week 4 was absolutely crazy and exciting in some ways. And my heart's out there for Colorado. I'm still praying for Hunter and everything. But the truth is, I'm not big on the smack talk. I'm not big on Dan Lanning's smack talk. It's the way to hype up, but you hype them up. The difference is everything personal and this and that. That doesn't help you. You almost lost to Colorado State because of that. You think that you had this big win that was going to happen, but the truth is you almost lost to Colorado State because you fueled them as well. As you're trying to fuel your team, you fueled them. The difference is Dan Lanning waited till the game and did it, and so you didn't have any ability to get your guys hyped up for what he said. Now, maybe you use that in this week's practice and film study and you showing them and you're trying to make adjustments, but you can't put size on in a week. You can't build up that talent better than what you've seen in a week, but the scheme could be better. The protection needs to be better for Shedeur Sanders to be able to shine, because if it is, he will shine. He will score points. This is why I picked him to only win by 14, is because I believe in Shedeur Sanders. I believe in his capability to score points, but he can't score points when he's running for his life. So Colorado got a rude awakening. They need to do some fixing. They need to do some adjustments. They got a tough game coming up this week, and that's just the way it's going to be over there in Pac-12. Now, do I think that all this hype and all this talk and everything, I said it before and I'll say it again, it's going to get them recruits. It's going to get them transfer portal recruits. They're going to get them recruits. They're going to go to the Big 12. They're going to be one of the best teams, if not the best team in the Big 12, and they're going to compete for a playoff spot each and every year as long as Deion Sanders is on that team. That's just simple as that. Now, Dan Lanning might not like that because he doesn't want his kid to be taken by Deion and everything, and he wants to shut this up before it gets too crazy. But I don't think you can stop that train. He's on every show you can think of. Every single college game show is talking about Colorado, even if they're not there. They're going to Boulder even twice now. Fox is going to be out there again. Even after the beatdown. Big noon kickoff, USC, Colorado. And I think it's going to be another bloodbath. We'll talk about that in the next show. So let's get to our final one, and then we'll end this. And I'll have to do the next week. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Wow. What was the first thing that came to your mind after that game? I can tell you mine. I'd like you to put it in the comments what you thought, your first reaction after that game if you watched it. If you were watching the 45-6 beatdown by Colorado or by Oregon versus Colorado and not watching that game, then you're losing out on what college football is about. I mean, that game was over, right? But if you watched that Notre Dame-Ohio State game, that was two evenly matched, defensive game. It was absolutely phenomenal, right? But as a Buckeye fan, I was on the edge of my seat. I had pains where I shouldn't have pains. I told someone I had 6 heart attacks in 2 years of my life taken by watching that game, and it was worth it. It was worth it. Now, I will say this. I'm going to talk about the winner first. I always want to talk about the winner first, right, if you can. Ohio State did not play a perfect game. Neither did Notre Dame. They were in their side of the field. They were in Notre Dame's side of the field multiple times and did not come out with points. Dropped a touchdown in the end zone. Emeka Egbuka went through his hands. I mean, running game wasn't perfect at all. I mean, others outside of that one, Travion Henderson jumped outside and ran it for 70-plus yard touchdown. Other than that, it just wasn't that great. I do like the Travion speed, Chip Trayanum power kind of mix. It did help up. And I thought the offensive line did better at running block than they have all season. This is a young offensive line. I thought they grew for sure, but it's still not where it needs to be to compete for a championship. You got in a few weeks, you got Penn State coming, and you got to have that ready by then. It's not going to be like this. It's going to be more. I thought Kyle McCord did have some passes that he wished he could have back, but I also thought he made some really good passes and reads. This was a clean game. It absolutely was a clean game. A matter of fact, there was like, and I hate to say it like this way, but I think this might be one of the cleanest games, and I think that's why it might have been one of the best. Now, was there a lot of missed calls for both sides? Absolutely. The refs did not do a great job. I thought that catch by Marvin Harrison Jr. was definitely a catch with his foot dragging. I don't think he lost control of that football, and they took 38 yards away, and they gave him back 15. I think that was a horrible call by the refs. I thought there was some pulling over there that Notre Dame could have got some calls for them on their way. There was a lot of holding that wasn't called, and some of it, I don't care about that. Like, there's some offensive line holding and everything on both sides, and they didn't call a whole lot of that, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay. Let them play a little. You know what I mean? I'm okay with the handsiness going down the sideline for both sides, because the same as it was for – now, if it was a complete pass interference, then pass interference. But the hands and all that stuff, the fighting back and forth things, I think they get called too many. I like the fact that they didn't call every single one and let the guys play. And I thought that's what made this such a clean game. So let's just break it down. Kyle McCord, 21 of 37, 240 yards, 6.5 yards of average. Wasn't able to get a touchdown in this game. But he grew in this game. He had to. He had a 2-minute drill, and he threw the balls where they needed, 3rd and 19, and getting the first down. And it was a 4th down where he had to go for it, where the game was on the line in that drive. And he made the right call. And I thought he took a few runs throughout the game, even though they wasn't big runs. He's not a runner. He took it. He did what he had to do. He showed that he was going to do whatever it took to try to win the game. Now, but we know on defense of both sides, stopping those 4th downs all through the game made this even a more intense game as it was. Henderson, 14 for 104, but it was 61-yard run, not 70 plus. So 104 yards are 14 attempts and a touchdown by Travion Henderson. Not bad. But the 7.4 yards average was kind of I mean, 61 yards was one play, so that's not true. You know what I mean? That Trayanum, 6 for 13, 2.2 yards average. That's like what our average was. Egbuka had 2 runs at 4.5 average. He got 9 yards, and we know one of them was stuffed. He got stuffed on a 4th down towards the end of the game, so that was really just one play. McCord, all these Williams didn't do nothing. Mayan Williams came in, tried to go in on 4th and goal, and got shoved and stuffed. We all know that didn't work out. So the blocking just wasn't there for the running as we like. Still got 126 yards of rushing, which is actually not good when you look at the 60-plus yard run. So there's a lot that needs to happen to make that offense better, and that means you got to run better, because this offense does better whenever it can go out of play action. Let's go. Emeka Egbuka got 11 targets. He got 7 receptions out of 11 for 96 yards. He dropped that touchdown in the end zone, but he made key plays to help win the game, and that mattered. Stover, 11 targets as well, 7 receptions as well for 52 yards at 7.4 yards average. He was really good. They got Xavier Johnson came in there for one play after Marv went out. He got 1 reception for 40 yards. I think they need to use him a little bit more. I think they can use him a little bit more than what they have this year. I think he's an explosive player. You need to use X as much as you can. Marvin got 7 targets, only 3 receptions. I thought their defense did a really good job of containing him, and we'll get to him in a minute. But he did a really good job in containing Marv. And I know after he hurt his ankle, it wasn't even. It was almost worse. He couldn't really get the same speed, so the timing was off. But they did a good job. I mean, their defensive backs were pretty good over there. Tatum 1 for 12, and we'll go on and on and on. But they got 240 yards of passing as well. So I thought that was pretty good. Here's the thing: 0 sacks. That's where Ohio State's defense still have not been able to get sacks like they need to. A lot of good pressures. They only had like 3 tackles for loss. The defensive front needs to do better. And now they didn't rotate a whole lot. I heard on another show that I watch, Buckeye Talk, they were talking like they were in there for like 65 snaps the whole game. They didn't take out JTT and Jack Sawyer the whole game. I mean, they had to be tired. Now, I understand they were going against these pretty much NFL tackles that they're going against, and they're trying to probably match up and play this game and match up talent for talent. But I think it was going to wear out. And even that, Mike Hall, I thought Mike Hall was in there a lot as well. And Williams was in there a lot. And I just think that there could have been a better job at rotating that defensive line, because in the second half, they ran all over Ohio State. And I think most of it was because of a wore-out defense. I mean, they were doing long drives, really long drives. And they had the ball 10 minutes more than Ohio State. They actually had less plays, not a lot, but less plays. But they were driving the ball down the field and running the ball. They had running off the edges, running in the middle, and they were getting good yardage at it. But let's look at it. SMA had 14 attempts for 70 yards, 5 yards a carry. 22 was his longest. Love, 8 for 57. Matter of fact, they had 5 running backs in this game. Within the first quarter, they went through 5 running backs. 8 for 57, 7.1. Price, 3 for 22. Payne, 6 for 18. Ford, 2 for 9. Greathouse, the wide receiver, went 1 for 3. So they ran the ball for 176 yards on Ohio State's defense. And they took what the defense gave them in the passing game. Sam Hartman didn't look like some outstanding, crazy quarterback. He looked like a very veteran, smart quarterback. And their tight end, absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal for that tight end to come out there and do that one-hand catch over Steel Chambers was a phenomenal catch. Absolutely phenomenal catch. They also had Tyree had 1 for 25. He had a big catch in the middle. It was kind of, I think it was I don't know if the linebackers was worried about the run too much, and they wasn't wanting to back up and play the pass and the run. I don't know. Something broke down in that. I tried to watch it again and see what broke down. It was just so much that looked like it went wrong there. I don't know where the blame truly lies, and we ain't hearing anything from the coaches to know that as well. Evans was the number 1 for 7 for 7 for 75 yards. Greathouse 3 for 2 for 40 yards. Tyree, like I said, he got 25, and then 5 for 3 for 20 yards from Flores Jr. So I just think, they 175 yards of passing, 176 yards of rushing. They had the ball for 10 minutes longer. They had the capability. They were in our side 3 different times and came out with no score. Credit to Ohio State defense on that. We was in theirs and they stopped. Credit to Notre Dame's defense on that. Again, you want to hear something crazy? This is how good this game was. Only 1 sack on Notre Dame's side. And I think it was because it was intentional grounding. They made it a sack. But 1 sack between these 2 defenses that played their hearts out. This was a good, clean game. So there was an excuse that I don't really feel like Kyle McCord was pressured at all in this game. I thought he had great pocket the whole time. I thought Sam Hartman had a great pocket the whole time. There was a few pressures and everything, but he's stepping up because he was smart. I thought they got to him pretty close Tyreek got there. Williams got there pretty close a few times. But Sam Hartman would step up, and he would make the pass. He would take what the defense gives him. He would go through his progressions, and he would go through them quick. He released the ball fast, then avoid sacks. He didn't hold on to the ball. He did everything right. I think Notre Dame and Ohio State is pretty even teams. Now, where did it go crazy? At the end. So Ohio State got the ball. They're driving down. They stop them at 4 down, and then they got another first down, and then they got them at 3rd and 19, and they threw it, and Mecca Ibuka caught that ball right there with like 3 defenders around him on the 1-yard line, and they call a timeout, right? Ohio State comes up on the goal line. They go out there, and they try to stretch the field, and they stop them. They had 10 players. Notre Dame at this point had 10 players on the field, and they still didn't notice it. And then they line up in the last play, and there's 10 players on the field again, and they notice it, but they can't call timeout. There's how Freeman say? He said there is things in there for them to do, right? There's processes and everything, but it's on him as a head coach, and I say kudos to him for taking that. You don't want to throw your guys under the bus, your coaching staff under the bus, your players under the bus. That's on him. It was a bad coaching decision. Now, could they have caused a small penalty to allow it to go? I would rather try to stop them from half a yard compared to a yard than try to stop them with 10 players. That's me. I would have forced the guy to run out there, and if you stop them, then you get another shot. If you didn't stop them, then it is what it is, the same result as you see right now. But I'm not the coach. I'm not in that position. He is, and they'll live up with it. I don't think that player being out would have made the decision or not. I think what made that decision is I think Chip Trayanum was a good running back. He's a power back. I thought they made a good block. They made a good push, and it's not on Ohio State. And it's not saying Ohio State won because of that. I'm saying that was a mistake on them, and Ohio State won because they had the heart to go down the field with just a minute and something left with one timeout and scored and won. You can't take that away from Ohio State. The heart on both these teams is. I still think both of these teams are top 10 teams. The first thing I did after I caught my breath back after seeing it is I called Big T and I told him, I said, there should be no way that they drop Notre Dame outside the top 10 after this game. I don't care if they got one loss or not compared to some people. Who else played the schedule that they've played so far? And I said, don't count Notre Dame out because of the schedule that they got ahead of them, playing Duke, playing USC. There's opportunities if they win. They're in this as a one-loss team to still try to make a move for the playoffs because I think that there's going to be some losses, right? We have the Texas-Oklahoma game coming up. USC's got to play Notre Dame, got to play Washington. There's a lot of things mixed up. Miami, FSU, they're still fighting to see. There's going to be championship games that can knock people out of the playoffs. So no one's out yet. And I just think that Notre Dame deserves as much as love as Ohio State in this game. I thought this was an instant classic. That was the first thing that came to my head when the question I asked, what was the first thing you thought of after the end of this game? And I said, instant classic. That's exactly what I told Big T when I called him. Instant classic. This game will be seen for years. Now, do I like what Lou Holtz said about Ohio State? I don't. There was other factors into some of these games. Now, do I agree that they played soft and weak and didn't look good against Michigan for 2 years in a row? Absolutely. As an Ohio State fan, I was furious about that. I just don't think we schemed right. I thought it was bad defensive play calling last year. I thought our defense absolutely was horrendous the year before, so I'm not going to sit there and put too much. We had a great offense, and we had the worst defense in college football. And it just, when you have a horrible defense like that, how are you going to stop a run? So I'm not worried about that. But last year, the play calling at the second half of the game was horrible, and on the defensive side, and it is what it is. The Georgia game, I thought Ohio State had all the heart and all the grit. I mean, they played to the very end. They had an opportunity to win. They missed a field goal not to win to lose that game. This got nothing to do with their heart and them playing soft. They were out their number one tight end in the first quarter, and they were out their number one wide receiver in that game, and they still took it to the wire to kick a field goal to win. That is not saying he's weak. The problem is when people come out of their little cave or their retirement home and they got to talk trash, to try to hype up their former team is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And I had a lot of respect for Lou Holtz, and I do as a coach. I mean, he's got national championships because he was a good coach. But there was no need for that talk. Now, was there a need for Ryan Day to call out Lou Holtz? Probably not. But in the heat of the moment, when you hear something like that, he's not only disrespecting Ohio State, he's disrespecting Ryan Day as a coach. And he has every right to respond to Lou for what he said. And here's exactly what he did is he responded to him. And then Lou came back and he doubled down and, he just don't want to talk about Michigan. Oh, well, I'm sure they talk about Michigan each and every day in Ohio State if you understand the program. And since you were there with Woody Hayes, you should understand the program and exactly what they do. You should be honored that you got to coach with Woody Hayes. But make it no disrespect, Lou. That national championship you won way back in the freaking day doesn't give you the right to talk trash and then everyone get mad when somebody that talks back. That's the problem. Everyone cheered Lou for talking trash. And then the minute that Ryan Day comes back at him because showed him that he was wrong, that Notre Dame's not the better football team, nor do I think they're worse. I think they're pretty equal. Then everyone has a problem with Ryan Day because what he has to say? I don't think so. That's just like saying, oh, Deion Sanders talked trash about everybody and this and that. Or this person talked trash about Deion, but then when Deion talked back, nobody had anything bad to say whenever Deion was being talked back about the Colorado State coach talked bad about Deion, then Deion fired back. You know what they made that? They put that all over TV and laughed and cheered and was having a good time about it. They were having a good time. But the minute that Ryan Day said something, then certain people from game day had to go out there and talk trash about Ryan Day and try to say that he was doing this trying to hide from the facts. Whatever. I know Lou's your friend, but suck it up. He did nothing wrong for what he said. For sticking up for his players, his team, his college, and himself. He did nothing wrong, which Lou has every right to put his opinion on, and Ryan has his opinion as well. And I don't think anybody's wrong for that. Let him talk. Just don't get mad when talk gets talked back. That's all I'm saying. Stop with the whining. Because flurry little Lou has something to say. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that people are attacking Ryan Day for that. After he was attacked. Just like I think Dan Lanning had every right to say what he had to say. And he had every right to pump his players up. Because he didn't speak lies. He spoke the truth. And you know what? He backed it up. The same as Ryan Day did. Enough said. Move on. All right, that's it for the rapid reaction. I'm sorry again that it was late. Please do not forget to subscribe, share, like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on Spotify. We need your subscriptions. Continue to allow this to grow. Help us out. Figure out what we can do. We're going to continue to build up with better equipment and better timing and try to get some more people on here as well to have special guests. That is our hope. This is a young show that just started this season, so please help us in making this the best show we can make it possible. So, and always give God the glory. Always, always, always. Thank you for watching. Let's talk college football. May God bless you. God bless college football, and God bless America.